Moldies! Happy Monday. I can't actually call it Monday morning musings because it's definitely afternoon. Kind of a weird week. It is our first week of being in transition, so being virtual until we find our delightful new building that hopefully we are able to buy and start offering cool things so that my people that are local can come in and have treatments by us. But for today, we are starting the week off a little bit later than normal because it was the hub's birthday. And so we extended our time in Chicago a little bit. So happy afternoon. So I wanted to talk a little bit about chronic inflammatory response syndrome and mental illness. So a lot of you know this, if you're suffering from chronic disease, there's a difference between being depressed and having a depressed mood because you have chronic illness that nobody can figure out. And I can't tell you the number of times that people that come in and their primary or a bunch of different specialists are offering, number one, a referral to psych, which after they run their normal pattern of labs, the next thing they offer is either an antidepressant, an anti-anxiety agent, or a referral to psych, or all of the above. And I can't tell you the number of times where people come to me and they've tried it. They've tried the antidepressant or the anti-anxiety because they do feel depressed. And how can you not feel depressed? If you've gone to 27 doctors and all they do is say that everything's normal and that there's nothing wrong with you, how can you not have a feeling of depression? How can they not figure out what's going on with you? So there's a difference between being depressed and having a neurochemical depression and being upset over the fact that nobody seems to be able to figure out why you don't feel like yourself anymore. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. So you're not alone in that. And it's definitely not something where you have a Prozac deficiency. That's not the story. There also is the fact that CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, causes depression. It causes anxiety. It causes panic disorder. So mold illness causes you to have all these inflammatory neuro processes. Anxiety is just neuroinflammation of your brain, right? Being anxious, you feel inflamed. You feel like you have neuroinflammation. All of you that have anxiety or have panic disorder know exactly what I mean. And I can't tell you the number of people that I've seen that kind of have like a smoldering anxiety. We're all anxious in the States. We are all forced to live at a speed that is not sustainable. We're all expected to drive and this, whatever our job is, to do more, to go further, on less money, less resources, less people, all of that. So we all kind of have smoldering anxiety. Anybody that lives in the United States or any, first world country has a smoldering anxiety. I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard from people that when they moved into that house or when they moved into that apartment or when they moved in with that partner, that all of the sudden they started having panic. And it wasn't like a normal evolution. It wasn't like things got rough and then the panic came. It was like a line in the sand. I moved in with that partner. I moved into that new house. We tore down the wall. We found black mold. We put things in the closet, and within a month we noticed black hairy mold growing on there. It's like that moment in time, and all of the sudden I started to have panic. These mental disorders are inflammation caused by mold exposure in that 25% of the population that is missing that mold processing gene. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have black mold growing on your wall and you don't have that mold processing gene deficiency that 25% of us do, you probably will still get sick, but it's a different level of sick. It might be something where, you have a stuffy nose, you start having headaches, things go on because black mold is toxic to everybody when it gets to that level. But for that 25% of us that is missing the gene to process the mold, it creates a whole different ballgame. So you can go from being somebody who has, smoldering anxiety. Sometimes you can't shut your brain off, or when you're at work, you freak out when your boss sends you a letter. And that can go into full-blown panic where you literally can't turn things off. And all you do is ruminate all the time. And all you think about is your health, and you think about your family, and you think about your partner, and are they cheating, or, are your friends trying to backstab you? And all of that can be resulting from exposure to that toxic mold. So if you had the appearance of depression or anxiety or panic or something that was a direct change after you moved into a toxic home, apartment, condo, townhouse, new office building, don't necessarily think it's you and your genes. Don't think it's a psychiatric disorder that came out of nowhere. Instead, think that this might be that mold exposure. The easiest way to find out if that might be your story is to do an online visual test at V as in Victor, C as in Kathy, S as in Sam, test, TEST.com. Again, VCStest.com. You can do it under my name, and then I automatically get those results. If you're a current patient, obviously I can put those in your portal. If you're not, I can, take a look at them. But within taking that test, within a 5-minute period, it will tell you yay or nay whether you've had biotoxin exposure and if that's part of your story. It's a really easy way to rule out you being a moldy. Now, I will caution you that 90% of the population will fail that in the presence of mold. 10% of the population that has that defective gene can pass that VCS test, even if they're extremely moldy. So if you're one of that 10% and you have a high suspicion that you might have that defective mold processing gene, I still recommend scheduling a consult, because I can find out if you are moldy and if you're missing that gene. I hope this answers some questions. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, please don't hesitate to comment. Thanks for tuning in, and have a beautiful week.